Hello, we are Borg 478 is here, and I wanted to talk about something kind of weird. I'm not really sure how to word it exactly. For those of you who have played the Metal Gear series in its entirety, pretty much, you can understand that it's a game that has a very high replay value because there's a lot of things that you may not have noticed the first time, or even the second time, or even the thousandth time. There's always something to be noticed. It's kind of like a Pulp Fiction or Inception in the same way that you can always find something new or some new interpretation in it. Or even a new gameplay tactic. I mean, Metal Gear is notorious for little hidden secrets. So, those of you who understand that can maybe understand what I'm going through here, and it's what I've kind of coined as the phantom pain syndrome. And I realize that may sound a little weird at first, but hear me out. So I played Metal Gear 5, and even before that, I played Ground Zeroes, and Ground Zeroes had me really intrigued. Like, I wanted to see what kind of game Metal Gear was gonna go to, and so at some point, Phantom Pain came out, and I played through that immediately. Like, I dedicated all my fucking time to that. I played hours and hours of that game to, accomplish everything that I possibly could. And we all know what happens from there. It was a really awkward ending. The game itself was really awkward. There was a lack of, well, everything that you'd expect from a Metal Gear, besides the sneaking aspect. And I guess for even people that have never played the game before, maybe I should go into detail. Metal Gear not only was renowned for its espionage gameplay, but also a lot of Hideo Kojima trademarks, the guy who made the game. He had little details in the game that wouldn't be found in any other video game, and they were a lot of real life details. Like, for instance, in Metal Gear 3 Snake Eater, um, you're when you're playing as Big Boss, if you don't eat food on a regular basis and your stomach gets empty, things will happen to you. Like, you won't regenerate health. Uh, every time you're in first person mode with your gun, your hands will shake from hunger, so it makes it harder to shoot. I mean, in Metal Gear Solid 1, Solid Snake, being out in Alaska, can actually catch a cold, which is, an amazing thing, because, you're sneaking around and suddenly your character sneezes and you're like, oh shit, what happened? And you caught a cold. So, I mean, there's lots of little details. It's a Hideo Kojima thing, He loves little details, and that's what I love about him and his games. So, besides that, he also had uh, a renowned reputation for storytelling. And his stories, although, a little bit convoluted at times, even Terminator or any of the other great franchises get that way after a while. It was convoluted, but for the most part, they were really great stories that you could not find anywhere else. And that was what I really loved about it, is there was no other game, no other movie, no other song that compared to the feelings you would get from a Metal Gear game. I mean, I can't explain it any better than that unless you played it. And those who have played it are, probably come up with 1,000 better words than I can, and they're, in the comments section just itching to say it right now. But that's kind of how I feel about that. Is the vanilla Metal Gear series, as I like to call it, was very unique. Like I said, you couldn't find it anywhere else. And then Metal Gear 5 came out, and it had great sneaking, but it had a lack of story. There were gaps in the story. There was an uncompleted chapter in the game that people found out about, and that kind of, you can tell when Chapter 2 ends in the game, it feels really incomplete, because you're waiting for Chapter 3 and it never comes. So, it kind of got bashed for that. There were really awkward moments in the game, because Snake, the main character, whether he's, you're playing Big Boss or his son, Solid Snake, they both like to talk a lot and have intellectual conversations about things, and they kind of like to protest about what their orders may be. But when you play Metal Gear 5, Snake suddenly is very uh, compliant and doesn't argue with things and just kind of goes with whatever people tell him. And of course, spoiler alert. Okay, so spoiler alert, three, two, one. Okay, you're playing as an actual different character in that game, unbeknownst to you, unless you really saw the twist coming, which it was pretty obvious to see right from the first 10 minutes of the game. But yeah, the big twist is that you're not playing as Big Boss. You're playing as one of his like lieutenants or whatever, one of his trusted friends. But he's a medic. Um, so yeah, it was well received by some and not by others because the ending of the game kind of makes it clear that Kojima didn't want to do Metal Gear 5. He doesn't want to do Metal Gear at all, but he made a nice little ending where the twist is that you, the player, were the medic all along. Like all the Metal Gear games you played, you were the medic alongside with Snake. You fought all the battles with him and all that. And so Big Boss hands over the mantle to you at that point and says, "You're Big Boss. You've been with me on all these adventures. You've gotten the training that I have. You know how to do everything that I do. You're Big Boss, basically." And I can see how that's a very nice way to wrap things up on a kind of, well, what should I say, fractured game. But a lot of people didn't see it that way, and a lot of people wouldn't accept that it was an incomplete game. But you think about the title, The Phantom Pain, and of course, that's kind of the point of the game, is you feel incomplete. Snake with his I keep saying that wrong. Big Boss, the Big Boss copy, rather, um, feels a phantom pain from his missing limb. And you, the player, are supposed to feel a phantom pain from that missing part of the game. It's a feeling of emptiness. It's a feeling of incompleteness. And here's where I'm getting back to my original point, is that Metal Gear 5 was a very fun game to play, and it had a lot of great moments. I mean, I know I'm kind of bashing the game at this point, but it really had a lot of good things about it. But at the same time, Hideo Kojima was ready to end it. He was ready to be done with it. So that's what we got as a final product, and I played through it once, and I just don't feel the need to play through it again. It feels very complete to me, and here's where Metal Gear or the Phantom Pain syndrome kind of comes into play. I go back to play the older Metal Gears like I used to love to do at least once a year. I'd go back to the old Metal Gears and play through them. I just don't feel that desire anymore. And that's what the Phantom Pain syndrome is after playing Metal Gear 5, I just don't feel the need to continue that story anymore. I feel like it's over. Like, me as the player, I've gone through all of these adventures. I've suffered what the character has suffered. It just feels complete now. And I can't explain it in a better way than that, but I don't feel the need to play Metal Gear anymore. And it's a real empty feeling of phantom pain. I just don't want to play it anymore. Yeah, it sits on my shelf, and I keep it for collector's reasons, the whole series, back to PlayStation 1 and all that, but I just think it's going to sit there and collect dust until it becomes a highly valued collector's item or something, and I sell it off, 40 years down the road. So I just wanted to basically make this video to see if anybody else felt the same way that I did. Because if you do, I'd sure love to hear it in the comments, and if you'd like to hear more videos like this, because usually I do Battlefield 1 videos mostly, and Battlefield 4, which isn't very well received, just like Metal Gear 5. But if you want to see more videos like this, intellectual conversations about a game or a movie or anything like that, throw it in the comments and let me know what you want to hear about, because I've got lots of opinions on things like that. We've got a wide range of video games, all the way back to Nintendo, all the way to the most modern games. I've pretty much played a lot of them, so if you want to hear anything on that, that's cool. If you want to hear about movies, I am a huge movie buff, so I'd be more than happy to do some discussions over, well, fuck, any movie, pretty much, except for love stories, and, yeah, that's about it. I can pretty much deal with the rest. So, thanks for hearing me out if you're here. I really appreciate it. Like I said, you should drop a subscribe and a like if you get a chance and you really want to see more content.